And welcome to MJ TV again. My name is Matthew James. This is kind of second part of Feeding Both Worlds, sort of a little bit of a biographical talk about my life as a medium and a clairvoyant. I've got in my hand my rune cards that I bought in 1988. Which were the very first thing I've actually used as a divination aid, and I've very much used them as an integral part of my readings ever since that time. So that's basically just using the quick maths. That's about 24 years that I've been using these cards, and they are sort of showing their age a little bit. If you can see that they are fairly worn. And the scenario is that they've got so much energy in them that I don't think I will ever get to replace these. I think I'm going to keep using them and keep using them and keep using them until they eventually actually fall apart. Now the other set that I want to actually introduce as well is my good old trusty Merlin Tarots. I got them probably within a few months of the room cards, and as you can see, these are in a fairly battered state as well. I mean, this is one particular card that it's had so much use, it is I've had to stick it back together again. And for probably about the first 10 years of my professional work as a medium, clairvoyant, card reader, these are the two decks that I used exclusively. I mean, since then I've introduced other decks. I do use other decks. I mean, I've got another deck here. These are the Navigators of the Mystic Sea, but I didn't get these until probably about 97, 98 when I was over in the States. I was actually over in Orlando, Florida, and I was in a shop that had hundreds and hundreds of sets of tarot cards, and I was very much drawn to these particular cards. These are based on the Kabbalah. You can see the Tree of Life symbol there in the background. There's the tree. There's the good old Tree of Life there. You can see the traditional image of the Kabbalah, Malkuth, Yesod, Tifereth, Daya, Kether, right down the middle there. And I suppose this brings to a perfect point the spiritual development that I actually undertook from about the age of 20, 21, probably all the way through to about the age of 30, 32, when I was at Paul Paradigma's wonderful psychic centre in Blackpool. Because we spend a lot of time actually on this Tree of Life, on the Kabbalah, and a lot of the actual practices that I did was based on literally doing the pathworking psychological journeys that are involved with Kabbalah. And I would seriously recommend the Kabbalah to anyone and everyone who really wants to develop their psychic abilities, because it is a phenomenal experience to actually be able to do these path workings. Now these path workings, quite simply, are an altered state of reality. They are you do actually go into a different dimension, and you do get to an actual point where you completely forget this earth plane and you really are in that image. They tend to be guided, meaning that you have somebody who describes the journey to you. There is a setting of the correct music, the right tone, vibrational music, and you literally start painting the picture that is described to you. And you at one point are looking at the image, next minute you are in the image. Now, I've sort of carried on from the legacy of what Paula showed and taught me, and I do open and closed circle development groups and meditation work that are based very much on these Kabbalistic meditations. And any of the students, any of the people who attend my development circles will tell you they really are in the image. They really do get the image, and they tend to be in the image moments before, even minutes before I describe it, because these are actual set paths. And what I actually say is that it's a little bit like having a tourist tour of, say, New Zealand or Australia, and you're a guided coach trip, and there are specific routes that are tried and tested. These are specific routes that, let's basically say that all the Kabbalistic pilgrims have gone that way before. I call those the tourist trails, and they are laid out. And a lot of these particular journeys are based on the typical Kabbalistic imagery that is described in the Kabbalah, the major arcana. The major arcana images, each major arcana image corresponds to a specific path on the Kabbalah. And it is amazing the symbolism that you do actually get that is universal, and that's why I say it is an incredible experience. But that isn't really the gist of this video. I don't really want to go too much into the Kabbalistic side of experiences. Just needless to say that it played a major role in my formative development years, right all the way through my 20s. And I am now practicing what I have been shown and taught by the wonderful Paula, and I'm passing that on to other people, and they are also actually getting the benefits of this Kabbalistic teaching that I was shown. And I mean, during that time, I met some wonderful, wonderful people at the Psychic Centre, and I was shown sort of what abilities I had, what I was capable of doing, etc., etc., etc. There is too many experiences to actually share here, and all I want to basically do really is just show what I'm actually being interrupted and I'm being overshadowed. And I'm going to basically mention a couple of little things that happened at the Paula's group. I had a couple of good friends of mine who sadly have since passed. There's Peter and there's Stan. Now Peter Patrick, he was an absolutely brilliant medium. I only knew him for probably about 18 months, but he had incredible abilities. Sadly, obviously, Peter's passed. He died of a pulmonary embolism. They say 2 years into me knowing the guy, but he was the one that introduced me to my first true professional readings. He guided me. He basically was the one that knew I was ready, and he was the one that got 3 of his friends to go to his house to volunteer for me to do professional readings with Peter's cards. And I owe it very much to Peter Patrick that I did actually go on to the professional trail, because prior to that all my readings were free. Prior to Peter saying that I was ready to read, I was reading friends, I was reading people, and I wasn't charging anything. It wasn't going to be the lifestyle I was going to lead. I was actually a quantity surveyor. I believe it or not, I was actually in the construction industry. And this is one of the last things I ever really thought I was going to get myself involved in. I'm glad I have. And then the other thing I want to talk about is the profound thing that happened to me when I was 24. That Miss Dewhurst, my music teacher, had predicted when I was about 14, 15, when she'd looked at these particular hands. I mean, forgive the pen marks on my hands, but yeah, these particular lines in these particular hands were read by Miss Dewhurst when I was about 14, 15. Obviously, they've changed quite a bit since then. At about the age of 24, I was at Paula's group, and a friend of mine, Stan, was a phenomenal healer. Phenomenal healer. He was a Geordie. He owned a hotel with his wife in Blackpool, and he was an incredible healer. It was just the energy that Stan could generate with Reiki. I've never known anything like it. And it was a particular time in my life where I'd suddenly I'd tried the Kundalini. I got a friend who was a brilliant seer and singer, and she was a professional artist. This Charlie had done some music, played some music, and all I can remember is the energy lifting from the base of my spine, going out the top of my head, and all I could see, the world around me, was a grid pattern. Everything I looked at was a grid, it was in pixels. I know I'd tried the Kundalini, I know this had temporarily opened, and for about a week I was in this incredible state of bliss. And I saw the world for what it really was. I saw it as a bit of a game. I couldn't take it seriously. I was understanding everything. There was such an inflow of information, and it was completely overwhelming, to tell you the truth. It was mind blowing. It was 10 years experiences. It felt like 10 years experiences in a week. And I didn't really know what was going on. I sat next to Stan, and I said to Stan, I could feel this energy emanating from me. I didn't know what the energy was at this time. I said to Stan, can you feel that energy? And all Stan could say is, geez, yes I can, and it is absolutely awesome. What have you done? I was a sort of 24-year-old. I didn't know what it was at the time, but clearly I'd had a Kundalini experience where the Kundalini energy had risen from the base of my spine and somehow had made its way all the way through and had showered out. And in that moment, obviously, I'd had that enlightened state. Hasten to add, it soon wore off, and I've never ever felt it since. That was the one and only time that my head chakra is actually opened. And I know in videos that Paula talks about, the head chakra does not normally open under normal circumstances. Yogis practice for years and years and years and years, and will only get to the throat, or will only, if they're lucky, get to the third eye. I don't know why this opened with me. It was just an experience I will never, ever, ever experience again, and I know that. But in the time, in that week, the amount of download that I had from Spirit was absolutely incredible. The other experience that I do want to mention, and I'm going to be cutting this video very, very shortly, and I'll do a part 3. It will be a part 3, won't it? Yeah, it'll be a part 3 another time. Is we were in New Zealand. I'm moving forward in time. I'm moving to about 2003, and this is where my good friend Merlin Odin Thoth comes in, because I had this incredible experience with what I would describe a fire letter, and I can only explain it as I was lying in bed, and suddenly, back of my mind here, I could see this Hebrew letter getting closer and closer and closer, and it leaned closer. It then entered my consciousness through my third eye, my pineal gland area, and all I can say is it completely possessed me. It completely took me over. I became that fire letter, and all I can say in those moments is I had this flaming Hebrew letter right inside me, within me. I was feeling its heat, I was feeling its energy, I was it. And all I know is it was inflaming my DNA, it was inflaming my entire being, and I know it was changing me. I didn't know what that was at the time until I went to a spiritual shop in New Zealand, in Taupo, and a friend of mine there, shop owner Jeremy, he had a load of books just laid out on the floor, and I went to this particular spot and I did the Merlin Tarot thing, I did the rune thing, and I just picked a book up. I didn't know what I was picking up. It's this big white book, The Keys of Enoch. And Jeremy went very pale and he said, what the hell have you picked that book up for? How do you know that was there? I said, no, I don't know. I need it. I need that book. Anyway, cut a long story short, one of the passages in this fantastic book, The Keys of Enoch, one of the keys refers to these fire letters that descend, and what they do is they reattune your DNA. It actually reprograms you. All I can say is that is what I experienced. It was a purple colour, so the encodement that I know I had was the red and the blue, and it's all to do with healing, and it's all to do with being able to actually heal through body vibration and work with energy vibrations, which was what I was experiencing as a 24-year-old. That was the energy that I was putting out without actually realizing what it was. So the wheel had come completely right round. I would imagine I would have been, let me work it out, 2003, 9 years ago, I would have been round about the 46 mark, 45, 46 mark, 35, 36 mark, sorry, because I'm 47 now. So it'd taken about 12, 13 years for that basic information to be processed, and for me to be given the understanding of what it is I actually use and what I actually have and I am now actually developing. So all I can say is that I've had some very, very, very strange phenomena. There are more of these phenomena that I've actually experienced that I'm going to actually share with people in case you guys out there have been experiencing the same things as me without realizing exactly what it is, because a lot of this stuff is not on the internet. It's taught by these guys up there. This is where the entity that I understand was once Merlin, was once Odin, was once Thoth. This is where that guy came in when I was a youngster, and he'd given me the information, because on the final note at the start of the Book of Enoch, the author describes a period in about 1967, 68, when he wrote the book, that he was taken astral traveling by Prophet Enoch. All I can say is at that time, that's when I was astral traveling with the entity that was known as Thoth. Thoth and Enoch are the same being. Now, I'm not saying I'm anything special, but I think I was astral traveling at the same time that the author was receiving the Keys of Enoch. And for some reason, I have been drawn to people who are drawn and who work with Thoth. It's just happened again and again and again all the way through my life. There are 2 or 3 notable people in my life who also have the Keys of Enoch, also do the same sort of poetry I do, and also have the same sort of experiences as me. So there is an inexplicable soul group here of, let's say, victims, whatever you want to call it, that work with this entity. So I know that the things that I do isn't necessarily by design. It basically seems to be a purpose to it, and a purpose that I am now beginning to understand more and more and more what it's about. And the more I get involved in it, the more I realize how incredible the whole thing is, and how I really am glad to be in this field at this time in 2012. Now, I will leave it there because I'm approaching the 20-minute mark, which is about 15 minutes more than I intended to spend with this video. So I will leave that there. I will say good night for now, and I will speak to you guys again soon. Bye for now.